It is that time of the year again, the time to file your taxes. And just like every year, 30th June is the deadline for individuals to file their annual tax returns. Though many have embraced it, it still remains a challenge for others. And it's not just about individuals, but also for those of you who are running small businesses as well. Navigating and understanding the tax regime can be a challenge. And that is why on the show this afternoon, we're opening it up to you to ask all your questions to help you get compliant and beat the deadline. We have with us Julius Yega, who's Chief Manager and Head of Taxpayer Services at the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA. He's here to answer all of your questions, so send them in to the text number 22422, or you can also send us a tweet. Use the hashtag BusinessNow at Citizen TV Kenya. Good afternoon. I'm Yvonne Okwara. This is Business Now. What new technological deployments does KRA have to facilitate annual tax filing? Why file your tax returns when your employer already does so through PayYE every month? We take you deep into the billion-shilling Kenya beauty industry and show you why Kenyan women are paying thousands of shillings for good eyelashes. I'm looking forward to your tweets and your SMSs. I've seen some of them already. Please use the hashtag BusinessNow for us to be able to track your feedback and your questions. All of them will be asked. We'll try to answer as many of them as we can on the show over the next hour. But first, let's update you with the very latest happening at this hour. EABL has committed 100 million shillings to elephant conservation in partnership with the government of Kenya. The announcement was made during the company's 100-year celebration that was attended by Tourism Cabinet Secretary and the Diageo CEO Ivan Menezes. This commitment is a wider part of EABL's sustainability agenda.
To support our transition to low-carbon operations, we have facilitated an over 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions just in the last 2 years. Once fully operational, our new biomass plant at our Tusker brewery will ensure we achieve net zero status, reducing our carbon emissions by 48,000 metric tons annually.
And now from the courts, 4 senior managers of Citon Investments Management Limited have lost a bid at the Supreme Court to stop their prosecution for alleged theft of 1 billion shillings from Britam, their former employer. The 4 worked at various senior levels at Britam before breaking away to form Citon Investments and were under investigation for withdrawal of company funds without the board's approval. The decision by the Supreme Court now paves the way for possible criminal charges of theft by servant against the 4. And finally, the Uganda Tourism Board is today unveiling details of its Kenyan roadshow aimed at boosting cross-border tourism between the 2 East African countries. Details are being outlined by Uganda's High Commissioner to Kenya and representatives from the Uganda Tourism Board and the Kenya Association of Tour Operators. All right, it's time for our discussion now, and your tweets are already in. 30th of June, it's just a little bit over a month. Have you filed your taxes yet? If not, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing? And what questions do you have? It could be filing taxes, it could be refunds, it could be turnover tax if you're running a small business. Ask your questions now. We're very pleased to have with us once again Julius Yega, who's the Chief Manager and Head of Taxpayer Services at KRA. Thank you very much once again. Umekuwa mwenyeji, and we thank you for making the time for us always.
Thanks, Yvonne. And let me start by saying that as Kenya Revenue Authority, we are very grateful that you've given us this opportunity to come and explain to our taxpayers what is actually going on. One, it is important to note that Kenya Revenue Authority has invested so much on technology. And we did this deliberately. We did this to avoid those long queues that you used to see.
Yeah.
So when it comes to technology, saying that we have done a lot of things along those lines. So for example, when we ask during this filing of returns, what exactly are we doing to do that? One, we have made it easier for the taxpayers. Most of those who are only relying on employment income, they go to our website and of course log into the iTax. And from the iTax, they will get already populated system within that, which will enable them file very easily without any problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me just ask, and before we can talk about those technological advancements and deployments that KRA has put in place, but the one question that people continue to ask, and forgive us, I know it's been years since we're using the iTax system, but there is still the #1 question, including that came in on Twitter: why should I file my tax returns when already you have that P9 form? Correct? I have it, my employer has it, my employer remits taxes every month to KRA. So in a sense, people are asking, what am I telling you that you don't already know?
Good. Let me answer that one. But before coming to that, I wanted to explain that bit of technology first because it is very fundamental.
Right.
One, I've talked about visiting our iTax website and then seeing to it that you make use of technology to file. We also have an M service. This is on phone. You go to the Play Store, download an M service on your phone so that you can also be able to file using that. Now, coming to your question, the bottom line is that your employer may not have all the details of other activities that you're involved in. One of them, your employer today knows that this is what they pay you, this is the activity that you have within your P9, but you'll recall that within your P9, your insurance, your mortgage, which is elsewhere, outside the domain of your employer, will definitely not be captured by the P9 that your employer has. So as Kenya Revenue Authority, we are asking you to really file your return because there's an additional information that you may have that your employer may not have. Something else, it's about reconciliation. Your employer says, this is how much we give you. Even you as a taxpayer, you need to really be able to be very comfortable telling us that what it is in the P9 is exactly what it is. So it is also for reconciliation and also confirmation.
Right. Yes. And we can talk a little bit as well about those others. So maybe you've got, like you said, insurance or a mortgage. So in what ways are, what information is this you're giving to KRA? And maybe, the side hustles as well that people have. Could you talk to us about those other components other than the P9?
Yes, that's what I was saying, that, you see, you are having ways of legally lowering your tax. Now, when you capture the insurance bit, the mortgage bit of it, then you will be getting that relief. And what that is important to the taxpayer. Kenyans are saying that they are overtaxed and all that. What a better way to reduce your tax liability to Kenya Revenue Authority by giving us that additional information. Okay. So that is very critical. All right,
and that is information that your employer might not have.
They may not have that one.
Okay, understood. So this deadline of 30th, who is that for exactly? Who does it cover?
Yes, every individual in this country that has a PIN. In other words, you are a registered taxpayer, whether individual or corporations or businesses. They are supposed to pay tax. I mean, they are supposed to file their return by 30th of this month, and that is, of June, and that is critical. Why is it important? It is important for them to know that when they file their return, we'll also be able to know that these numbers that we have within our taxpayer register, are they responding? How many are filing? How many are not filing? And if we realize, for example, that majority are not filing, then we'll go outside there and change our strategies, increase awareness and all that to ensure that people like that come on board. So it is important that they file. But something which is critical for the businesses, there's what we call the accounting period. If an organization or if a company has its accounting period from January 1st to December 31st, that is expected to pay to declare 6 months after the ending period. Now, those companies are supposed to file their return by 30th of June this year.
I see.
Thank you. Understood. That's the difference, yes.
That's the difference. And my word, we have quite a few questions, so I just want to remind you to keep sending them in. I'm looking at our SMS line, 22422. They're coming in, as well as on Twitter. That is the hashtag #IsBusinessNow, at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara. Here is one from Festus K. He asks, what's the penalty after failing to file returns for 2 years?
For 2 years?
Yeah.
Yes. What we normally do is this first. Let me clarify that. For individuals, there's always a 5%, penalty of 5% of the tax due, or 2,000, whichever is higher.
Okay.
If you fail to pay, to file your return.
Whichever is higher.
Whichever is higher.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely we'll go for the higher one. Yeah. Then the other one is for individuals, taxpayers. There's also a late filing penalty of 5%. That is for non-individuals. We are now referring to companies, corporations, and all that.
Okay.
Yeah? Or 20,000 shillings. Yeah? And of course, the word whichever is higher will always come in.
Yeah.
Yes? But something else we need to clarify is that we need to know that there's also 1% interest. So if you don't file on time, apart from that penalty, and every month you don't file until that time that you'll have filed, there will always be a 1% charge.
Okay.
On that.
So there's a question here, and I think I'll tie it in. They didn't leave their name on our SMS line, but they say, do you have to file tax even if you are not working? And also, you know, there's those who apply for a KRA PIN to be able to get, for instance, a higher education loans board. They are not working, they are students, and they haven't had any income, you know, and probably between jobs or waiting to be employed. So are they also required to file a tax return? Yes. And why do we ask? And what do they file then? A nil return. Okay. That's why we have a nil return. In fact, I want to take you back to where we started from. Yeah. You remember we said that KRA has given you some kind of technological assistances. So one of them, the M service, we really appeal to the students to make use of that because, one, it is not expensive for them. They'll file their nil return. But why is it important for them to file their nil return? As I indicated earlier on, so many things happen in this country. Somebody could fraudulently as well make use of your own PIN to do some business. And you will find that if you don't file, we will not be able to know whether that was real or not real. So when you file, then KRA will also be able to bring it to your attention that meanwhile, wherever you are, somebody has not been, or fraudulent people have been using your PIN in a wrong way. But we want them to file their return because one is also an obligation for anybody who is registered as a taxpayer in Kenya to file a return. Yes. Another question here on 22422. They say, hello, I got a job out of the country. I'm paying taxes in that country. Should I still pay in my country? It depends on his sources of income. If it's entirely that country, then that may not be for us. But if whatever he is earning the other side is also being applied up here, then the tax law requires him to have that double payment. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, but for more details on that, we'll also again refer him to our website so that we'll be able to find exactly how we treat that. But it's important, yes. All right. Let's go back to those who are employed. You know, for instance, and we said that, you know, your employer is remitting every month. Yes. You get the details of that in a statement from P9, which you can get from your employer. Yeah. But what happens if you find out that there is a discrepancy, that maybe not all the months are catered for? How do you then go about reconciling that? First and foremost, you have an obligation to report any misinformation that you come across. You see, for example, and that's why we're telling people that even if your employer is filing, you also have to refile. You may have a scenario where the employer deducts more from you, but is filing less. Now, if that happens, then we are requesting any taxpayer who might come across such, but we believe there are very few, to call Kenya Revenue Authority to inform us, you know, and of course we'll treat that with a lot of confidence. It is what we call, we have a policy on whistleblowing, and of course that is critical. When you inform us, we'll definitely be able to engage, see how to go about that, and in the likely event that your information will lead to us getting more revenue out of your information, we have a reward system. You will be rewarded for giving us that information. All right. Yes. Here is one. Eric Joey on Twitter asks, what if you are employed on contract and your contract ends? Is there a need? Because that's a zero return, according to Eric. It depends. You know, as I indicated from the beginning, that a Kenyan must file a return. So let's say you're employed from January to August. You still need to file the return.
So the others, of course, will be capturing 00, but we'll be able to see that from the return, you are really on employment up to this point in time.
Okay.
So whether on contract or not, please file a return.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We have some more that are coming in. So today is that day. You will bear with us so that we can answer as much. Onduso Freddy says, I left my previous job last year in February. Now I'm working with another company since December last year. How should I do the returns from 2021 January to December, and then 2 months of the previous job and 1 month of the current? So I guess this is when there's a changeover of
changeover of job, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, the P9s are not the same.
Yes.
So that's why we need him to file and giving us all those details.
Okay.
From there, we'll now be able to reconcile and see how much tax this person is supposed to pay, because you'll realize that there was a break at a certain time.
Yeah.
Now, that, of course, means that we cannot say that we cannot only deal with one P9. He has to, of course, give us all the details. And that takes us back to what we call taxpayer obligation. As a taxpayer, he's supposed to give accurate information about his living within that given year. So that is important. And more information you can still also get on our website. We have really tried as much as possible to put all these kind of frequently asked questions online, and that is important. Okay. But in the unlikely event that he doesn't get that, he's free also to call our call center, and will be answered very well. And
he can still get 2 P9s, right? Even though the P9 is for 2 months, maybe at the current employer,
yes,
you can get that P9, and then you file both of them.
Yes, but I noted from his question, you know, we are filing in a given financial year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got like there was
January
a break.
to December.
Yes, I got there was a break somewhere there. That can always be clarified.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why we have what we call TSOs. TSO simply means tax service offices. So where he belongs, just in case he's not satisfied with the response that we have, he can always call us, he can always visit. But as Kenya Revenue Authority, we really discourage taxpayers coming to the office.
Because you're trying to make
it as automated as possible.
Yeah, I mean, some of us maybe were old enough to remember the queues.
Yes.
When you actually had to file it, you know, and come manually.
Physically,
yes.
It was
right.
terrible, yes.
So here is another one. Who says, it's Evans Nganga from Thika, and it says, if you've been overcharged in terms of tax payment and KRA has your money, how do you get that money back?
Yeah, that's what we call a refund. That's what we call a refund.
How do you go about, first of all, establishing that there is an overpayment, and then now pursuing that?
Overpayment is noted. When you file your return, there's a final figure that will be given to you by the system. If that figure happens to be negative, know that KRA owes you money.
Okay.
But if that figure is positive, know that you owe KRA money. So how do you determine that you have that? I've explained. Secondly, the same ITAX system allows you to apply for refund. Yeah, to apply for refund. You'll apply for refund online, and it will give you an acknowledgement fee, acknowledgement note, which later on, as Kenya Revenue Authority, will work on that to see to it that your refunds are paid back to you. Okay. Yes.
Is it possible, and I think I saw this question online, is it possible for a refund to offset the following financial year? Kama mko na 10,000 zangu simubaki nazo, then next year
you don't file.
Yes.
No, that will be going against the Income Tax Act procedure.
Okay. Yeah.
Filing return must be done. Even if we owe you money, you just file. Now, when you are claiming on refunds, you'll be able to let us know that you owed me this in this financial year, this in this other financial year, so that we don't really, we don't work on it that way.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess it's important. We're asking all questions today.
It's good.
And we said on the show all questions will be answered.
Yes.
Tell us about persons living with disability. Are they required to also, file tax returns? Do they get any relief under the law?
Yes. I did indicate from the beginning, and because I want this point to sink in, that as long as you are a registered taxpayer, you must file a return. People living with this disability are supposed to file their returns. But they have an exemption, which is a certificate given to them by the National Council for the people living with the disability. So our taxpayer who is living with disability is supposed to apply for that within that council. Once that has been given, when they are filing their return, they are supposed to attach or indicate that number of their registration. But how much are they exempted? Every month is 150,000. Yeah? So if his income is only 150,000 per month, he will pay no income. I mean, pay
no
tax on that.
Okay.
Yes. But, of course, up to a maximum of 1.8 million in a given year.
Okay.
I need to also clarify that. That is the exemption we give you. But you can be a person living with a disability and you have businesses. You don't still run away from that obligation because that also has to be taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, here's another one. And that's important, at least for people to also know that there are exemptions within the law that allow them, you know, within limit, of course, and how they can benefit from that exemption.
Yeah.
Okello Maganga on our SMS line is asking, no, I think we have... yes. I work out of the country and I am paid a tax-free salary and I file nil returns, but I pay tax on rental income. Is there anything wrong with that?
There should be nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because the rental income is here.
Yeah, okay.
It is earned in Kenya, not the other side. It's earned in here. So that's a benefit earned within the country.
Okay. So you see there are good people who are paying taxes.
We're happy. We say thank you to Okello because he's proud to be Kenyan there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we talk about... you know, the penalties, and I've seen a question about penalty and a fine, what the difference is. So, you know, you've talked to us and given us the raft of penalties that are there for late filing, for not filing within the year, 5% of the tax due. But, you know, a penalty is one thing. But in what other ways can failing to pay your taxes, you know, pose a challenge to you in the future, perhaps?
Oh, yeah.
Other than with KRA?
You see, something else which is important as a country, or look at even our Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we are saying that anybody who wants to do anything must be cleared by Kenya Revenue Authority. That is one. Two, you need what we call tax compliance certificate. If you've not filed your return, if you've not paid, so we are saying, for example, penalties is nothing, but we'll recall that when you want to do some business, they will require that tax compliance certificate from Kenya Revenue Authority. Let's say you want to sell your assets, what we call capital gain tax and all that. What will definitely happen if you're not tax compliant, it will definitely impact on you negatively as a taxpayer. So we encourage our taxpayers to actually file their returns, meet their obligations, and do all that so that they avoid any, what I would call inconveniences that are not necessary. Yeah.
Indeed. Here's another one. A retiree, I think this is someone who's concerned, Peter Sawe says he retired over 25 years ago and has no other source of income. Does he have to file a return?
No.
He retired,
no. You know, there's an age, senior citizens are exempted from some of these.
Okay, so Peter Ukosawa, we thank you for your service to the nation. Over 25 years ago, you should be
about
fine.
80 or something, unless he's doing some businesses, which, of course...
Okay, well, although he says he has no other source of income. So,
thank you.
Yeah, so we will go with that.
Yes.
And then my former employer has not finalized paying me because he has not cleared with KRA since 2019. How true could that be? Does that make any sense to you, Julius?
No. Why should that happen? I mean, if your employer has a case with KRA...
That's got nothing to do with...
Has got nothing to do with their way of... They relate.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that really could be out of this.
So they will sort themselves out with that one. Here's one from Gilbert. I want us to take a break.
Yes.
But let's answer this last one from Gilbert Kibet in Nyeri. He says, I didn't file my returns while I was in college because I thought those that file are only employees. So is there a way I can get a waiver on the years that I failed to file the returns?
With the documentary evidence? Yes. You know, Kenya Revenue Authority is not an organization that doesn't listen. We listen to all taxpayers. Of course, if you have a very genuine complaint, as Kenya Revenue Authority, we must listen to you. And of course, we'll be able to do our due diligence. And when we realize that really Gilbert was literally a student, he had no income, we can't penalize you on that. Okay, and then just to reiterate that if you're a student but you've got a KRA PIN, it is important to file,
He has to file a nil return. Okay.
He has to file a nil return.
All right. Yes. So whether you earned or not, In the last financial year.
File a nil return.
Okay.
We'll be very comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you heard it there. Let's take a break. We have many more questions when we return, including understanding something around turnover tax,
TOT,
right?
yes.
For small businesses. That's a new one. How do you go about filing that? Julius will be telling us that and much more. Of your questions, keep them coming in. The hashtag is Business Now. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Business Now. All of your tax questions answered. We're still here with Julius Yega, who's Chief Manager and Head of Taxpayer Services at Kenya's Revenue Authority. We've gotten in as many questions as we could, but I also wanted to ask about turnover tax. And Julius, forgive me if I just ask you again to define it before we even go into the payment, just because it is still something new that, you know, small businesses are starting to get acquainted with. So take us back again to what TOT is, and then how businesses can go about filing that.
Let me just give a background of turnover tax. There were a bit of concern from the traders. Most of the micro, small, and medium enterprises traders, they are of the opinion that they have challenges with engaging accountants, doing those complicated tax maths and all that. And then KRA thought it wise to come up with a new way of helping them. So we have an annual regime, of course, like the one they are filing now on, and then we have the TOT, which is another regime. So if you're on TOT, then you do not have to be on that income tax one. Why did we introduce this? Because taxpayers were feeling that the 25%, 30% was on the higher side for them, the company tax, you got that. So they said, what about us small people? So we brought in the turnover tax. And turnover tax is based on gross sales. So say, for example, that as a taxpayer or as a business person, your gross sales is 1 million a month, for example. You are required to pay 1% of that as the tax. And of course, if you say 1% of 1 million, it's not 100,000. It's actually, is it coming to 10,000? Yeah. So we are saying, if your turnover is 1 million, you're only required to pay that 10,000.
Okay.
That's an example. That is a final tax. What does that mean? You will not be required to file return by this June. So yours is paid on monthly basis.
Okay.
So what happens is, if let's say you've done business in the month of April, you are supposed to pay that tax on 20th, on or before 20th of the following month.
Okay.
So we said that was a more simpler tax for the business people. And actually, when it was started, it was at 3%. Then we had a meeting. The stakeholders called us. They invited us for a meeting, and KRA listened to them. And then it was reduced from 3% to 1%. But to our surprise, by the way, it is important that we stress this point at this point, that the tech, you know, the tech by business people is very low. So we really wonder what is not happening, because we thought this was an easier one for them. But the uptake is still very low.
Okay.
Maybe we appeal to our students. You know, we even have a college where we train our people, and even universities. It is important for them to conduct research and find out what is it that could be holding people back. Because we believe that when we get information even from the scholars, it is better for us so that we can change on the strategies.
Okay, and there's something you said I just want us to maybe reiterate or clarify. When you say it is a final tax, once you've paid that on the 20th of the following month. So when you come to the end of your financial year as a company, do you file?
No. You don't. That's
you don't file.
That's why it is called a final tax.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So once you've paid that final one, let's say your financial year ends in December, and you pay the final one on by the 20th of January.
Yes.
I do not need to go back into KRA's records to start filing.
You don't. That's why it is TOT, turnover tax.
All right. Okay. All right. And I think that is important to understand there. So it looks like we also have quite a few civil servants and retirees. Susan Kamau, or before we go to Susan Kamau's, I think we've got some other tweets that we can take a look at. Susan Kamau, I see your message from Kajiado County. I'll come to you in just a moment, but first let's answer Moaz Felix, who says, I have used my KRA PIN in both small business and also the salary. How can I file that return?
You know, you see, the salary is a different regime. That is pay as you earn. That is an income tax. So, of course, the PIN cannot be different. PIN is the same.
Okay.
Yeah? So, you see, if you're a sole proprietor, for example, you still use the same PIN that you're using. And if it's the same one that you're using for your own salary, you remember that pay as you earn is different from turnover tax.
Yeah.
Because turnover tax is for your business. Yeah? But pay as you earn is which is being paid by your employer.
Okay.
Yes.
And maybe just as a follow-up to that, perhaps, and I don't know if that is Felix's situation, but perhaps he earns a salary, but also does businesses on the side.
Yes.
You know, everyone in Kenya has a side hustle. Most people do anyway. So how do you file that? And I guess that's what you were talking about at the beginning.
Yes.
If you could just go through that again. If you are employed with company X, but you know, you do a few consultancies here on the side.
Outside that, yes.
So you file that together with this iTax, with your P9?
Oh, yes, you are supposed to give those details.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say that this is another side thing that I do. Yeah, you file on that. Yeah, because now that one you don't do TOT.
Yeah. You
don't, because TOT is meant for small businesses and all that. But as long as salary has come on board, then you are supposed to go under income tax regime.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that has been answered. I'd promised to get into Susan's question. Susan is a civil servant with the Ministry of Health at Kajiado County. She says, for the last 6 years, KRA has not done any reconciliation with my ministry, so I can't get my overpayment refund. I visited KRA but didn't get assisted. How do I go about it?
Let's give Susan an assurance that KRA will ensure that her refunds are given back to her. There was a challenge at some stage, but we are addressing that issue. And I know soon it will be sorted out for that matter. And Susan is not alone. Let her know that she's not alone on that, but she's working. It's work in progress and it's being done very well.
Okay.
It's going to work out, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to then, we have a few more minutes to go, and we've talked about taxpayers who are living with disability.
Oh, yes.
We've also talked about what the last 2 years has been, you know, with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
You know, there are certain instances where you're telling some of the people who've asked questions that, you know, if you're not satisfied and if things are not happening on the portal, the iTax portal, they can come, you know, physically to KRA offices. What is that like now, you know, with the last 2 years of COVID, and has that eased up somewhat?
Yes.
In terms of the services you provide physically?
Let me tell you, as I indicated earlier, that our automation system is so good. Literally, you don't even have to come. We can even do it through a webinar system, but we have an email where we expect them to send us those details of what happens. And our call center will call them back and engage them. Yes, apart from that, we have what we call our social media accounts. We have actually made sure that all things are posted there. But apart from that, I also need to acknowledge the accountants at this point in time. There are accountants who have gone on the YouTube to even guide taxpayers on how to file their returns. I saw a gentleman called Muma was so excited this morning because he explained it very well. So what I'm saying is that when pandemic came in, we actually told taxpayers not to visit us physically. So we have an email account. That is, if someone has a complaint, for example, Kamau, the lady from Kajiado, the email account is DTD, as in Domestic Tax Department, in small letters, DTD complaints, as one word, DTD complaints at kra.go.ke.
Okay.
Yes, that will come to us.
Okay.
And yours truly is the one in charge of that. So I'll be able to definitely see with my team, and we'll be able to respond back to Kamau. All
right. So it'll be Julius who will be responding to those emails.
I'll respond to that.
DTD complaints at kra.go.ke. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, of course, embracing that. Can we have one more question from our retirees? As retired citizens, am I required to file returns at age 61 and above? We already said no.
We have responded to that.
But he goes on to say, he or she, I presume, says, I'm a farmer and I've planted trees in my farm. When selling trees, do they attract tax?
The bottom line is she or he in business? And is he getting income out of that business that is doing? And I would also just advise her that within the Tax Procedure Act, we have got those which are exempted from the same. So it's always important when you're doing a business, you can always go to our offices and ask that, is this exempted, is not exempted. But within the procedures, we have what we call those businesses that are exempted from paying taxes. But I want to believe for the trees, if it is a very lucrative business, then something will definitely come in there.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. But it's a retiree. I'm sure they're selling a few lemon trees and whatnot here and there.
Susan,
something to keep them busy.
We are assuming that a retiree is somebody who is so...
Okay, yeah. No, you're right.
You get my point.
You're right. Maybe I shouldn't make that assumption. You're absolutely right. Retirees are doing big business. After that, you're absolutely right. I will not make that assumption once more. And then... does the Mkra portal share the receipt via email? I filed mine last year and I didn't get an email for that.
Oh.
Like when you do...
Normally when you write to us, we always give you an acknowledgement.
Okay.
We'll always get you a response that we have received it or we have not received it. So in case she hasn't got or he hasn't got an acknowledgement from Kenya Revenue Authority, please let him get in touch with us. He can make still use of that email I gave there.
Okay.
Or still, they can also copy julius.yega@kra.go.ke.
There you go.
Yes, they can copy that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we get it, yes.
So that you can get them that. Do we have a couple of other tweets? Let's see what else we have coming in on Twitter. The hashtag is business now. Moisio says, if I have an outstanding refund from Kra, oh, and I think we'd answer this, but let's answer this. If I have an outstanding refund from Kra, why can't Kra use that balance for future tax obligations, such as penalties? Also, why do refunds take so many years to be effected?
By the way, on mandate of Kenya Revenue Authority, what normally happens is that we get refund funds from Treasury. Yeah, you get that. So it is not that KRA has an account they are given to give you refunds. No, we also have to look for it elsewhere to ensure that it is given to people who are owed refunds. Yeah, so that is one aspect that need to be brought out. But we want to also let that taxpayer know that we cannot offset based on what you have. I did indicate earlier that is every filing period has its own.
Okay.
But you can always visit us for more engagement on that, just in case we listen to it.
Yeah, and I guess they're hoping that there might be penalties. Maybe there won't be any. Maybe the next year they will file in time and there will be no penalties. Yes. I have time for one last question, after which I will give you, a moment to just sort of give us your final word. And this is from a Twitter account calling itself NFT Domain Intel. It says, kindly clarify more on digital tax. So I believe that's the DST.
That's the DST.
Yes, if we can just, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, we are saying that the world has gone so global and so technological. A lot of works are now online and they're virtual. And we said, how do we now tax that aspect? And that's how we came in with the digital service tax. Yeah. Okay? And this is targeting a particular group of businesses, and it's not everyone. Okay? Yeah, but for more details, let them visit our website for that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we said we had to move the same way the world is moving. So when everything is going technological, of course, we have to go that end as well.
Okay.
Yes.
One quick one from Dante says, what's the name of the mobile app for filing returns again?
M-Service.
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 Okay.
So if they go to the Play Store.
Play Store?
Play Store, you look for KRA M-Service.
Okay. And it's on Android and iOS?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
M-Service. All right. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that one in really, really quickly. Sadly, it looks like we've come to the end of the program.
Yes.
So I just want to give you now, the chance, your moment to give us the final word, wrap this up for us on what we're doing here.
Thanks so much again, Yvonne. I want to ask taxpayers to file their returns. We are doing well at the moment, but we really want everybody to file their returns. We have had a lot of concern that people who file returns are very few compared to those that we have in our database. Let taxpayers take advantage of this opportunity to file their returns before 30th of June 2022. It is very important for us. And I want to stress here that taxpayers must understand the obligations. As I indicated earlier, a taxpayer has got 4 obligations: register, file, pay, and of course indicate to us the accurate details. With that, we'll have no problem with our taxpayers. Lastly, is on integrity. As Kenya Revenue Authority, we take integrity issues very, very seriously. We have seen cases where taxpayers say that they have been harassed by people who claim to be KRA officers. Kenya Revenue Authority on our website, we have what we call a page where you can vet if that is a real KRA officer. So we are really concerned with that. So we are asking our taxpayers, anybody who comes to you and they do not identify themselves properly as KRA officers, please do not just think that they are KRA officers. Some could be fraudsters. Lastly, any taxpayer who has a complaint, we conduct taxpayer education. And this taxpayer education is reaching everybody. We have some of them physical, we have most of them on webinars. And we are very happy that taxpayers have been logging in, and we have been doing a lot of work on that. And I need to let taxpayers know that they have a right to invite Kenya Revenue Authority to give them training, even within their sites. Yeah. So I really want to ask taxpayers to take advantage of that, take advantage of the technology that we have in place. In case of any challenge, please call our service call center. You will be guided, and all the issues that you have will be responded to accordingly. So once more, thank you, Madam Yvonne.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are very grateful.
Thank you. And thank you for always being available for us. It's always nice when we call on KRA and you're like, yes, we will come and we will answer questions that Kenyans have, both those who are employed and those doing their own businesses. So once again, that deadline is coming up on the 30th of June. If you are employed, if you are in business and you're doing TOT, just make sure that you are paying your taxes by the 20th of the following month. And of course, that email address is DTD, all of them small letters, dtdcomplaints@kra.go.ke. And don't worry, if you have any more questions, Julius and his team are always happy to be here on Business Now once again. As always, asante sana.
Thank you very much.